Hi everyone. Today's lecture is on dyslipidemias and atherosclerosis. Hyperlipidemias, defects in lipoprotein metabolism, lead to disorders known as dyslipidemias, synonymously but less accurately called hyperlipidemias. The original, now outdated classification into types 1 to 5 was based on the electrophoretic behavior of lipoproteins. This classification has been superseded by the genetic one. Another commonly used classification is phenotypic, which simply divides dyslipidemias into hypercholesterolemia, hypertriglyceridemia, and mixed dyslipidemia. Frederickson classification of hyperlipidemias or phenotypic classification. On electrophoresis, the alpha lipoproteins, in other words HDL, migrate furthest towards anode electrode, followed by the pre-beta lipoproteins VLDL and the beta lipoproteins LDL. The chylomicrons remains at the cathodic end at the origin of the electrophoretic strip. This is the classification developed by Fredrickson and adopted by the WHO. It is based on the electrophoretic separation of serum lipoprotein. It has been largely superseded by the genetic classification. Dyslipidemias are also simply classified as hypercholesterolemia, hypertriglyceridemia, and mixed dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia type 1, the increased electrophoretic fraction, chylomicrons. Both cholesterol and triglycerides are increased. Type 2A, the increased electrophoretic fraction is LDL, increased cholesterol, and there's no increase in triglycerides. The type 2B dyslipidemia, the increased electrophoretic fractions are VLDL and LDL. Both cholesterol and triglyceride are increased. The type 3 dyslipidemia, the increased electrophoretic fraction is ideal, the so-called broad beta band. Both cholesterol and triglyceride are increased. Type 4, the increased electrophoretic fraction is VLDL. There is an increase in triglyceride, but there's no increase in cholesterol level. Type 5, the increased electrophoretic fractions are VLDL and chylomicrons. Both cholesterol and triglycerides are increased. The most important genetic dyslipidemias are shown in the table. According to this classification, the dyslipidemias are classified into familial hypercholesterolemia, familial combined hyperlipidemia, familial dysbeta lipoproteinemia, or type 3 hyperlipidemia. In familial hypercholesterolemia, the frequency of inheritance is 1 is to 500 and inherited pattern is autosomal dominant. The defect is LDL receptor deficiency or functional impairment. The plasma lipid pattern, hypercholesterolemia or mixed hyperlipidemia, 2A or 2B. the increased cardiovascular risk is there always. Familial combined hyperlipidemia, the frequency of inheritance is 1 is to 50 and the inheritance type is autosomal dominant. The defect is overproduction of ApoB100. The plasma lipid pattern, hypercholesterolemia or mixed hyperlipidemia, 2A or 2B. Characteristically variable patterns in different family members. Increased cardiovascular risk, yes. Familial beta lipoproteinemia or type 3 hyperlipidemia. The frequency of inheritance is 1 is to 5,000. The inheritance pattern is autosomal recessive. The defect is presence of ApoE2 genotype. Defective remnant binding to LDL receptor. Plasma lipid pattern is mixed hyperlipidemia. Increased cardiovascular risk, yes. Hyperlipidemia also classified into primary hyperlipidemia and secondary hyperlipidemia. Primary hyperlipidemia are group of genetically determined disorders. Secondary hyperlipidemia are acquired disorders. The table shows Frederickson classification of hyperlipidemias. The phenotype, the lipoproteins elevated, plasma cholesterol levels, plasma triglyceride levels, atherogenicity, and relative frequency, and the treatment of different types of hyperlipidemias are given in this table. The table shows the type of secondary hyperlipidemias caused by different diseases, the changes in the levels of VLDL, LDL, and HDL, and the mechanism for the changes. Obesity and diabetes lead to dyslipidemia caused by increased VLDL production. This can also be a result of alcohol abuse. However, in contrast to diabetes, alcohol, while raising VLDL, also raises HDL concentration. Importantly, weight loss decreases VLDL secretion. Secondary hyperlipidemias. Several drugs also cause or exacerbate hyperlipidemia. Examples of these drugs are thiazides, beta blockers, corticosteroids, estrogens, and progestogens. Ideally, calcium antagonist, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, beta blockers with ISA, or alpha blockers should be used for treating hypertension in patients with hyperlipidemia. This table shows the type of primary hypercholesterolemias and their genetic defect, the inheritance pattern, the prevalence, and the clinical features. Familial hypercholesterolemia, the genetic defect is LDL receptor, inheritance autosomal dominant. Familial defective ApoB100, the genetic defect is ApoB100. The inheritance pattern is dominant. Polygenic hypercholesterolemia, the genetic defect is multiple defects and mechanisms. Inheritance variable. Familial hyperalpha lipoproteinemia. The genetic defect is unknown. The inheritance is variable. The table shows different type of primary hypertriglyceridemias and their genetic defects, inheritance, prevalence, and clinical features. LPL deficiency. The genetic defect is endothelial LPL, inheritance recessive. ApoC2 deficiency. The genetic defect is ApoC2, inheritance recessive. Familial hypertriglyceridemia, unknown enhanced hepatic triglyceride production. The inheritance pattern is dominant. Familial hypercholesterolemia. Familial hypercholesterolemia is a monogenic disorder caused by a mutation in the gene coding for the LDL receptor. Cellular uptake of remnant particles and the LDL is either impaired, heterozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, or completely inhibited, as in very rare homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. Other mutations disrupt LDL receptor recycling to the plasma membrane. Patients with familial hypercholesterolemia have very high plasma cholesterol and LDL cholesterol concentration. The mode of inheritance of familial hypercholesterolemia is autosomal dominant, so there usually is a prominent family history of early atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. In other words, symptoms occurring in a man younger than 55 years of age or a woman younger than 65 years of age. Some patients with familial hypercholesterolemia develop lipid deposit on hand and knee tendons, and particularly on the Achilles tendon. They are known as xanthomata and are diagnostic for the disorder. They appear as slowly enlarging papules or subcutaneous nodules attached to tendons, ligaments, fascia, and periosteum, and commonly affect the tendons of the dorsal surface of the hands and the Achilles tendon. Corneal arcus. Excessive cholesterol can also deposit in the cornea, causing corneal arcus. Corneal arcus is a grayish-white opacification at the periphery of the cornea. It is a particularly sensitive sign of familial hypercholesterolemia, especially when detected in persons less than age 50 years, in which case it is also referred to as arcus juvenalis. Familial defective apolipoprotein B or FDB. Familial defective apolipoprotein B is caused by a mutation of the ApoB100 molecule that impairs its binding to the receptor. These patients also have high plasma cholesterol. Xanthomata seems to be rarer than the patients with familial hypercholesterolemia. Familial combined hyperlipidemia. Familial combined hyperlipidemia is characterized by an overproduction of ApoB100 rather than receptor impairment. There is increased production of VLDL and consequently increased generation of LDL. This lipidemia presents with variable plasma lipid patterns, either with hypercholesterolemia alone or hypercholesterolemia with hypertriglyceridemia. It is a relatively common cause of premature myocardial infarction. Familial dysbeta lipoproteinemia. Familial dysbeta lipoproteinemia, previously known as type 3 hyperlipidemia, is caused by a mutation in the ApoE gene, yielding ApoE isoform with low affinity for the LDL receptor. This leads to accumulation of remnant particles, and there is an increase in both plasma cholesterol and triglyceride. Characteristic Palmer xanthomata are present. Familial dyslipidemia is associated with early coronary disease. Lipoprotein lipase deficiency. Lipoprotein lipase deficiency is very rare. It results in extremely high VLDL, chylomicron, and plasma triglyceride. The latter may exceed 100 millimole per liter or 8,850 milligram per deciliter. Clinical signs include characteristic rash-like skin xanthomata. LPL deficiency is associated with the risk of pancreatitis precipitated by the very high triacylglycerol concentration. Affected patients often suffer repeated incidents of pancreatitis. Goals of lipids. LDL less than 100 optimal, 100 to 129 near optimal, 130 to 159 borderline, above 190 is very high. Total cholesterol less than 200 desirable and more than 240 is high. HDL cholesterol less than 40 is low and greater than 60 is high. Serum triglyceride less than 150 is normal and more than 200 is high. Treatment of hyperlipidemia. Hyperlipidemia with high LDL cholesterol can be treated by therapeutic lifestyle changes and using drug therapy. The therapy of choice is statin. Alternative drugs used are resin or niacin. Let us look into the therapeutic lifestyle changes in LDL lowering therapy. The major features: therapeutic lifestyle change, diet, reduce intake of cholesterol raising nutrients, LDL lowering options, use of plant stanols or sterols, 2 gram per day, using viscous or soluble fiber, 10 to 25 gram per day, weight reduction, increased physical activity and avoiding sedentary lifestyle. Therapeutic lifestyle changes, nutrient composition of TLC diet, nutrient recommended intake, saturated fat less than 7% of total calories or approximately 10% of total calories, polyunsaturated fat up to 10% of total calories, monounsaturated fat up to 20% of total calories, total fat 25 to 35% of total calories, carbohydrate 50 to 60% of total calories, fiber 20 to 30 grams per day, protein approximately 15% of total calories, cholesterol less than 200 milligram per day, total calories, balance energy intake and expenditure to maintain desirable body weight or prevent weight gain. Mechanism of action: reduces the hepatic cholesterol synthesis, lowering intracellular cholesterol, which stimulates upregulation of LDL receptor and increases the uptake of non-HDL particles from the systemic circulation. Statins inhibit the key regulatory enzyme of cholesterol biosynthesis, which is HMG-CoA reductase. Let us look into a clinical insight. A 57-year-old man was referred to the lipid clinic because of hypertriglyceridemia. He was obese, drank 30 units of alcohol per week, and led a sedentary lifestyle. Triglycerides were 6 millimole per liter, 545 milligram per deciliter. Cholesterol was 5 millimole per liter, 192 milligram per deciliter, and HDL cholesterol was 1 millimole per liter, 39 milligram per deciliter. After initial difficulties, he eventually managed to lose 7 kilogram of weight over 6 months. He cut drinking to below 20 units per week and he started to exercise regularly. 12 months later, his triglycerides were 2.5 millimole per liter, 227 milligram per deciliter. Cholesterol was 4.8 millimole per liter, that is 186 milligram per deciliter, and HDL cholesterol was 1.2 millimole per liter, that is 46 milligram per deciliter. Comment on this observation. Lifestyle change can result in appreciable improvements in the lipid profile. To achieve this, individuals need to become committed to changing their lifestyle and in particular to maintaining the change over a prolonged period of time. Note, 1 unit of alcohol is 1 measure, 60 ml of liquor, and 1 glass, 170 ml of wine, or half pint, 284 milliliter of beer. Atherosclerosis. Atherogenesis is a process that leads to a narrowing or sudden complete occlusion of the arterial lumen. The result is atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease or ASCVD. The occlusion may cause myocardial infarction if the blockage is in a coronary artery, stroke, blockage in the artery supplying to the brain, or peripheral vascular disease, blockage in the leg arteries. This leads to characteristic pain that occurs during walking with fast relief on stopping, known as intermittent claudication. The development of atherosclerotic plaque is termed atherogenesis. The term atherothrombosis is sometimes used to emphasize links between plaque growth and blood coagulation processes. Atherogenesis involves lipid deposition in the subendothelial layer of the arterial wall, intima. This occurs on the background of endothelial damage and it initiates inflammatory reaction that affects the intima and involves element of innate and adaptive immunity. Eventually, remodeling of the arterial wall takes place as a result of migration and proliferation of vascular smooth muscle cells or VSMC and new vessel formation or angiogenesis. Thrombosis contribute to plaque maturation and destabilization. The term atherothrombosis is sometimes used to emphasize this. This flow chart shows the development of atherosclerotic plaque. The cardiovascular risk factors damage the endothelium. This leads to penetration of lipids and cells into the intima. Activation of macrophages lead to cytokine response and leads to activation and proliferation of smooth muscle cells. The lipid pool, which results from disintegrating lipid-filled macrophages, the foam cells, becomes covered by a fibrous cap, forming the mature plaque. While stable fibrous plaque causes slowly progressing angina, the disruption of an unstable, highly cellular plaque leads to acute clinical events such as myocardial infarction. Atherogenesis, the role of vascular endothelium. The arterial wall itself consists of 3 layers: the subendothelial layer, the intima, the middle layer, the media, which contain vascular smooth muscle cell, and the outer layer, the adventitia, composed of looser connective tissue and containing relevant nerves. The lumen of healthy artery is lined by a confluent layer of endothelial cells. The normal endothelial surface is strongly antithrombotic and anti-adhesive. It repels cells floating in plasma. Endothelium controls vasodilatation by secreting nitric oxide. Endothelium also controls vasodilatation and vasoconstriction and thus regulates blood flow. The most important vasodilatory substance is nitric oxide, also known as endothelium-derived relaxing factor or EDRF. Nitric oxide is synthesized from L-arginine by the endothelial nitric oxide synthase enzyme ENOS. The activity of ENOS is controlled by the intracellular calcium concentration. The endothelial nitric oxide synthase is constitutively, that means constantly, expressed in the endothelium, whereas another isoenzyme, inducible nitric oxide synthase, INOS, is found in vascular smooth muscle cell and in macrophages. Nitric oxide signals via guanylate cyclase and cyclic GMP. A decrease in nitric oxide production contribute to arterial hypertension. Glyceryl trinitrate, a drug commonly used to relieve chest pain caused by inadequate oxygen supply to the heart muscle, dilates coronary arteries by stimulating nitric oxide release. Atherogenesis is initiated by endothelial damage. Endothelium can be functionally damaged over time by the presence of cardiovascular disease risk factors such as hypercholesterolemia, hypertension, components of the cigarette smoke, and a high saturated fat diet, and also by diabetes mellitus and obesity. The effect is particularly evident in so-called lesion-prone areas, which are usually located either at branching points or curving section of the arteries. The dynamics of blood flow in these areas damage the endothelial cells. Endothelial dysfunction precedes the formation of atherosclerotic lesions. Initially, the damage is functional rather than structural. The endothelium loses its cell repellent quality. It becomes more permeable to lipoproteins, which deposit in the intima. It also admits inflammatory cell into vascular wall. Dysfunctional endothelium increases expression of cell adhesion molecules, CAMs, that include glycoprotein known as selectins, and the vascular cell adhesion molecules 1, VCAM1, which promotes addition of monocytes and T lymphocytes to endothelium. Endothelial dysfunction, lipid deposition, and inflammatory reaction in the vascular wall are the key processes in atherogenesis. Endothelial dysfunction precedes formation of atherosclerotic lesions. Atherogenesis involves endothelial dysfunction, deposition of lipids in the arterial intima, low-grade inflammatory reactions, migration and proliferation of the vascular smooth muscle cells, and thrombosis. Note the role of oxidized lipids in the formation of lipid-laden cells and subsequently the lipid pool that becomes the center of atherosclerotic plaque. The sequence of events is shown in blue line and the regulatory mechanisms are shown in red lines. Atherogenesis, the role of growth factors and cytokines. Atherogenesis is driven by signals mediated by cytokines and growth factors generated by endothelial cells, macrophages, T lymphocytes, and vascular smooth muscle cells. There are multiple activation paths. For instance, the expression of MCP1 and VCAM1 may be stimulated by signals generated by the macrophages as well as by oxidized LDL. Vascular smooth muscle cells may be stimulated by the dysfunctional endothelial cells, by macrophages, and by T lymphocytes. A hormone angiotensin II also participate in these processes. Atherogenesis, contribution of retained lipoproteins. Retention of lipoproteins in the intima is the central event of atherogenesis. The atherogenicity of lipoprotein particles depend on their size. Smaller particles such as remnant and LDL enter the vascular wall when the endothelium is damaged. In the plasma, the LDL particles are protected against oxidation by antioxidants such as vitamin C and beta carotene. Once they lodge in the intima, this protection is removed. Fatty acids and phospholipids in the LDL are subject to oxidation by macrophages, expressing a range of oxidizing enzymes, including lipoxygenases, myeloperoxidases, and NADPH oxidases. Oxidized LDL further stimulate expression of VCAM1 and MCP1 in the endothelium, maintaining the influx of cells into the intima. It is also mitogenic for macrophages. Cellular basis of atherogenesis. Adhering monocytes are stimulated by the monocyte hemoattractant protein 1 or MCP1 to cross the endothelium and lodge in the intima. Monocytes also secrete matrix metalloproteinase 9, MMP9, a protease, which further facilitate their migration. Generation of inflammatory cytokines and adhesion molecules also stimulate the exit of T leukocytes and neutrophils from plasma. Monocytes transform into macrophages under the influence of inflammatory cytokines such as tumor necrosis factor alpha or TNF alpha. Macrophages themselves produce pro-inflammatory cytokines, interleukin 1 beta, IL-1 beta, IL-6, interleukin 6, and TNF alpha, as well as a range of hemotactic cytokines, chemokines. Oxidized lipoproteins are taken by macrophages. Activated macrophages respond to cytokines secreted by the endothelium and the vascular smooth muscle cells. They express several receptors, including scavenger receptors, CD36, and toll-like receptors. Oxidized ApoB100 binds to the scavenger receptors rather than to the LDL receptors. Because scavenger receptors are not feedback regulated by intracellular cholesterol concentration, the macrophage engorge themselves with oxidized lipids and take the appearance of foam cells. Conglomerates of such cells from the fat form fatty streaks. Foam cells continue to secrete pro-inflammatory cytokines. Migration of vascular smooth muscle cells changes the structure of the vascular wall. Cytokines and growth factors secreted by endothelial cells and activated macrophages, platelet-derived growth factor PDGF, epidermal growth factor EGF, insulin-like growth factor 1 IGF-1, and TGF beta activate the vascular smooth muscle cell in the arterial medium. Vascular smooth muscle cells migrate into the intima and undergo phenotypic switching, transforming into myofibroblast-like cells. Transformed vascular smooth muscle cells further perpetuate the inflammatory response by secreting interleukin 1, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and adhesion molecules. They also synthesize extracellular collagen, depositing it on the growing plaque, which forms the fibrous cap. All this disrupts the structure of the arterial wall. The newly formed plaque starts to protrude into the lumen of the artery, obstructing the flow of blood. Inflammatory activity destabilizes the plaque, making it prone to rupture. Dying foam cells can be removed by efferocytosis, a phagocytic removal, or can undergo necrosis and release their lipids, which enlarge lipid pools within the intima. In the mature plaque, the lipid pool is surrounded by foam cells, lymphocyte, and vascular smooth muscle cells that have migrated into the intima. Macrophages continue to secrete cytokines, growth factors, adhesion molecules, and matrix metalloproteinases. These attract T cells and facilitate the activation to effector cells. The plaque cap contains collagenous matrix synthesized by vascular smooth muscle cell. Advanced lesion may also calcify. The figure shows mature atherosclerotic plaque. The lipid center and fibrous cap are the main parts of the mature atherosclerotic plaque, which emerges from the structurally remodeled vascular wall. The plaque, which is cell poor and collagen rich, is relatively stable and grows slowly over the years. Conversely, the plaque, which is cell rich and collagen poor, becomes unstable and may rupture. The key process leading to plaque rupture is digestion of collagenous matrix of the plaque cap. The synthesized fibrous cap provides a degree of protection of the plaque content from thrombosis. Rupture of the cap stimulates thrombus formation. The figure illustrates areas vulnerable to breakage and shows the obstructing thrombus formed at the site of rupture, whereas stable fibrous plaque causes slowly progressing angina. The disruption of the unstable, highly cellular plaque leads to acute clinical events such as myocardial infarction. Atherogenesis, the role of thrombosis. Platelets stimulate thrombotic phenomena in the plaques. Initial addition of platelets to the vascular wall occurs through platelet glycoprotein receptors for 1 Willebrand factor and fibrinogen. Addition further facilitated by beta integrins, transmembrane protein that bind ligands such as collagen. Also, platelet binding to circulating cells lead to leukocyte activation. Tissue factor, a transmembrane cytokine receptor, and the primary physiologic trigger of the coagulation cascade may expressed in the plaque, vascular smooth muscle cell, and macrophages. Tissue factor stimulating a range of events, including monocyte hemotaxis, vascular smooth muscle cell migration and proliferation, angiogenesis, and apoptosis. Formation of small thrombi contribute to plaque instability and accelerates its growth. Growth of the plaque is accelerated by cycles of plaque mini ruptures and thrombosis. Newly formed vessels facilitate hemorrhages within the formed plaques. These two figures shows endothelial dysfunction and formation of fatty streaks. Vascular endothelium modification in atherosclerosis. During early stages of atherosclerosis, the integrity of endothelium is compromised, which results in increased permeability, which facilitate the penetration of the intima by atherogenic lipoproteins. Increased adhesion, which facilitate migration of monocyte into the subendothelium. Diminished vasodilation, which compromises hemodynamic control. Plaque formation, the fatty streak. Monocytes penetrate the intima and transform into macrophages and eventually cholesterol-rich form cells. These activated macrophages scavenge and ingest oxidized low-density lipoproteins in the subendothelial space. The progressive accumulation of lipids forms the fatty streak. Plaque formation, the fibrous cap. The growing fatty streak eventually forms the lipid core, which becomes isolated by progressive formation of fibrous cap. The fibrous cap contains collagen, proteoglycans, and activated smooth muscle cells. The sturdier the cap, the less likelihood there is of plaque rupture. Plaque formation, the lipid core. Further lipid accumulation in the lipid core results in death or apoptosis and potential destabilization of the plaque. This figure shows the progressive development of atherosclerotic plaque and the narrowing of artery. From plaque to thrombosis, key event, plaque rupture. The key event in transformation of a stable plaque to unstable plaque is rupture, which results in either partial or complete occlusive thrombosis. The figure shows the therapeutic targets of atherosclerosis. The major target is LDL cholesterol. Other targets are triglycerides, homocysteine, small dense LDL, LPA, HDL cholesterol, inflammation, insulin resistance, and glucose levels. The figure shows arterial plaque. A plaque marked by an arrow blocks most of the lumen of this blood vessel. Thank you for listening to this presentation.